Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And once again, thank you to all our generous patrons who've kept us going for over 300 episodes.
Yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames Dude of the week is Elijah T. Thank you, Elijah.
Elijah.
And as always, we've got a sexy, sweet sponsor to thank.
Yeah.
So
if you want to be a sexy, sweet man.
If you want to be a sexy...
Which... I actually don't have it with me because I was in the bathtub using it. But yes, if you ever want your body and your junk to smell good, we've got a sponsor with Manscaped, and I've been using their latest,
you've been shaving
deal
that taint?
they got going. The exfoliant for sure. So, which is good stuff. And yes, the shaving cream. So, forgive me if I'm blanking on the exact name of the package.
The crop gel.
But yes, it comes with crop exfoliant, crop gel, and a special razor for your nutsack. But it's just general good stuff, and they have other products too, including.
Well, now's kind of the perfect time because they just they announced a new package that they're calling the Platinum Package in time for Father's Day. Father's Day coming up here, and
I do like Platinum.
Yeah, it's got all the. It's got like the lawnmower, the weed whacker, the body wash, the 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner, the new deodorant, which smells pretty fucking great. And it feels premium. When a package feels like it's like heavy and I don't know, but the deodorant's nice. The crop preserver, which we love, the thing that got us into Manscaped.
Love crop preserver.
The ball spray, also great. Mm-hmm. And then they come with the free gifts, which is the tote bag and one of our favorites, the Boxers 2.0.
Those feel fucking fantastic, by the way.
And I'm doing it for you guys. I'm not wearing these super comfy boxers. I'm keeping one pair in the box because the box is cool. And then, of course, the Ultra Smooth package, which a lot of this that comes with the Ultra Smooth package, I think comes in other packs.
That's what I was talking about was the Ultra Smooth package.
Yeah, well, it's the perfect time. Summer's coming. You're sweating. Well, summer's here.
Summer's here. We're in California. Summer's here.
Sweating balls.
Yes. So it gets sweaty and nasty, and imagine basically bundling all that up within a thick layer, of cotton or whatever, and it's just. It's 100 degrees outside, and then now you're covering it in a blanket, and now it's just festering and stewing, and your body's trying to breathe, but it's just full of fucking hair and gunk and stuff in the way, and it's like, well, you know what? You have a solution.
And this is exactly how you pitch it to your father or father-in-law if you're truly brave. When you give this to them.
So if you ever really need to, give some breathing room to your jewels, the only deforestation that's good is the deforestation in your own nethers. So you can get a lawnmower, to trim it. You can get the Ultra Smooth Performance Package if you want that to look, and feel as smooth.
If you want it to look like a
smooth
mole rat.
As silk. Yeah, if you want to look like, which we want to be like, mole rats are pretty awesome. They're impervious to cancer. So,
on that note, if you're interested in checking out the Platinum Package, please check out manscaped.com. Use our code YoVG for 20% off and free shipping worldwide. That's manscaped.com and code YoVG, all caps, for 20% off and free shipping worldwide. So it's been an exciting
Your balls
time.
will thank you, I think, is the slogan. But my
your balls will thank you.
Well, my balls thank me every day when you wake up and you realize you don't have crotch taint.
And somebody might thank your balls. If you're lucky, maybe you whip them out and they're like, wow, thank God. It doesn't smell like a garbage heap.
Yep. Damn right.
So last week, Sony, whipped its stick out, put it on the table.
Yeah, and big week last week. We held off, for a couple of days because we knew Sony State of Play coming, and it came, and it was a big one, big load coming. And we could have done that this week, but there was something interesting that came up, and I thought it would be kind of good to talk about before we knew exactly what was happening. And that is Jeff kind of got up out in front and said, like, I need you guys to manage your expectations for the Summer Games Fest. He even went as far as to say it's not the Game Awards, which is interesting because he's implying that a ton of megatons get announced at the Game Awards, and I don't even know if that's really true.
Yeah,
but
I guess it's never a good sign when somebody tells you to manage expectations before their thing.
Yeah, well,
But-
because he said it's going to be a lot of announced stuff, a lot of updates on announced games, and some announcements. He said some announcements, but a lot of it is updates on games. And I thought that was kind of interesting. It's good. No one will listen to him.
No, everybody's gonna get hyped up. But I got to be honest, Keeley is constantly surprising me with just like he says a lot of the right things, and he seems to be on the right side of some stuff. I mean, he dragged his feet on the Activision thing, but everybody sort of expected that. But I sort of like that he's up front, where he's just kind of like, hey, don't get all rock hard for this thing. Like it's gonna be.
Calm down, don't get a big dick.
Yeah, just don't red rocket on me. Just show up for fun, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna blow your fucking mind with announcements.
Yeah, and I think honestly, I think some of his thunder was probably stolen by Sony, because I feel like between Final Fantasy, Resident Evil, and Street Fighter, I feel like one of those could have gone to Keeley.
Well, I got to be honest, I'm saying that a lot. I was expecting Summer Games Fest to sort of be a pseudo E3. So I was in that like getting hype. I'm the guy he was telling to calm down.
Yeah.
Like where I was like, oh, Keeley is the obvious successor. Like he's going to make Summer Games Fest like the new E3.
And then there were
Doesn't
some
sound like the case.
there were other games that felt like they could have been at Summer Games Fest, but they kind of came out and got out of the way. Like EA and BioWare came out and said, like, okay, the next Dragon Age game is Dreadwolf or something, and we're not going to talk about it for a while. Like, it's like, so they basically came out and said it's not going to be anywhere around this month. Like, this is the name. We'll talk about it more later in the year. And like Square came out and said, hey, Star Ocean 6, we'll talk about it later this month. Like, anyone gives a shit about that game anymore.
How dare you?
I'm sorry, Xenoblade 3 got announced. Who cares now?
Well, this is the year when we're
Just-
going to see the real effects of the pandemic, right? This is when all that stoppage that happened 2020. This is going to be the year where you really see like the draught of new info and stuff, right? That's what everybody's been sort of saying. Like this is going to be the year where like things that were going to come out this year or were going to be announced this year got pushed back, that kind of thing.
And it feels like it's still happening, right? And that's the interesting thing, is that a lot of people kind of took Summer Games Fest as the E3 replacement. And it's not really. It's kind of interesting because it's kind of almost not becoming that, like in a weird sort of way, because like, okay, so Sony was Thursday, and then a week later, Summer Games Fest. Capcom's going to have a little stream event of their own for announced titles, so they're going to like follow up that State of Play the Monday after, so like 6 days from now. And Nintendo still hasn't said anything. There's, we were talking about it before. I had heard offhand from rumors maybe there won't be a Nintendo Direct, but I can't verify anything. I can't find anything about those rumors. So
it's not definitely not happening.
So I can't really put stock in that. Like, everything's up in the air right now as far as that goes. But to relay what the rumor that I can't find, my sources, I made it the fuck up. Is basically saying that like Nintendo's not gonna have a big June Direct. They're instead gonna have a Xenoblade 3 focus Direct quickly, and then after that there'll be a Splatoon focus Direct, and then they'll have a big Direct in September as usual. And I can't find anything. I can't find anything on the source for this. Nothing on the source for it at all.
It does sort of seem weird, though, that they wouldn't do anything around this time of year when everyone else is doing like a decentralized E3.
Right? Yeah, and it does seem like everyone's kind of doing their own. Microsoft is Sunday. Sunday morning. After Keeley's thing, before the big Capcom thing. Everyone kind of expects Nintendo to be around the middle of the month. So
basically, what we're saying is that
things are a little spread out. But here's the thing: there's no centralized. You show up at E3 because, like, regardless of what your status was, even if you were Devolver Digital who didn't participate in E3, you have your shit in and around that specific event. That
you throw an
specific
80s barbecue
3-day
down the street.
Yeah, you throw in like that specific 3-day event is where everyone just kind of like you're either there or you're doing it at the same time. Like that is where you show up. And even Mr. Stubborn Dickhole Nintendo would show up to that. And yes, I'm calling Nintendo dickholes. I mean, my
And
God, did you see that? Did you hear about that court case that happened?
No. What?
Yeah, they a Switch hacker, they pressed him to repay them $4.5 million in damage and 40 months in prison. And basically they refused, like they were pushing hard for the sentence to be harsher. They basically came out and like there was a news report that came out and said that Nintendo did it to set an example. Like I'm like, okay, so one person is gonna pay 4.5 million. Well, great example there, Nintendo, just ruin a dude's life, you know, whatever. Like they have every
country.
This country. They have every legal right to do this. They have every legal right to do this, but on the same token, I'm like, you just kind of look like a big fucking dick. You know?
What was he hacking?
The Switch hardware.
And just like putting.
And he was selling. I think that was the big problem, was that he was selling his.
Oh yeah.
His wares and software and services and whatnot.
Yeah, that would be the big problem.
I mean, it's a big no-no. Don't ever do it. But Jesus fucking Christ, Nintendo! Like, even if he could pay $4.5 million, that's not going to mean anything to you. And second, it's just you're just ruining a person's life forever to set an example for something that
they don't give a shit.
Isn't causing you any noticeable profit decline or anything. I'm like, they're a big dick corporation. All these corporations are big, giant, fucking festering dicks. All of them.
It's solid imagery. Right there.
They just are. But you know, we're anyway. They got
pox-ridden dicks.
Yeah, like monkey pox-ridden dicks. Just
to
be topical. Like
wear a mask, folks, on your dick.
Yeah, Jesus. But they're all terrible. They're all terrible people. Like, it's literally one of those things like the music industry. Like, I'm going to sue this old lady, you know, for millions of dollars for downloading music. To set an example. Fuck off.
Well, it couldn't. They didn't win.
Oh yeah, no, they did. They won.
Really?
They were the lawyers were arguing for a leaner sentence. Nintendo pushed with I think the Washington Department of Justice pushed harder for a harder sentencing. And they got an in-between, but much closer to the harshest sentencing on it. So
this was a criminal case?
Yeah.
And a jury awarded $4.5 million to Nintendo?
Yeah, let me see if I can dig up the exact thing.
What fucking jury would do that? That's 12 people that are never invited to any barbecues ever. That's it.
Yeah, this was from Waypoint, by the way. Lawyer for the Department of Justice told a judge that a man sentenced to pay $4.5 million to Nintendo piracy case would be resigned. Blah blah blah. It's from Vice, you know, Vice News. Waypoint being their gaming section. And the only reason I haven't even said it, but like the guy's name was Gary Bowser. Whatever.
Wow.
Neither here nor there.
That seems karmic.
The defendant's kind of
Bowser v. Bowser.
Yeah. He was arrested in New Jersey, while waiting a connecting flight to the Dominican Republic, where he lived, to Canada, because he's from Canada, and he was waiting for a connecting flight in the Dominican Republic. No, sorry, he was arrested in New Jersey, waiting for that flight. Whatever, I'm getting lost here.
He's running.
Sounds like it. So I'm going to read the sentence again. It was arrested in New Jersey while awaiting a connecting flight from the Dominican Republic, where he lived, to Canada. So he was trying to flee to Canada. He was trying to flee to Canada while on a connecting flight from New Jersey.
But Canada would have prosecuted him too, I think.
Following 16 months in custody, a judge sentenced Bowser to 40 months in prison, followed by a 3-year supervisory period. He also has to pay $4.5 million in restitution to Nintendo of America, to be paid in monthly installments not exceeding 10% of his monthly income. It is an intentionally harsh sentence designed to deter future hacking.
So he's gonna be paying 10% of his income for the rest of his fucking life.
Yes. For the rest of his life.
Well, then you just like move to somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Africa, and stop that, right? Like you just get the fuck out of there. Find somewhere, go work at move to like Central America and work at resorts or something.
Yeah, Bowser was given a 40-month sentence, reduced from 60-month sentence, which Nintendo and the Department of Justice requested. The sentence, according to the judge, attempts to strike a balance between the fair treatment of Bowser and the Department of Justice's desire to turn him into an example. I doubt that has succeeded at either. Yeah. Well, that was editorialized at the bottom.
That's gross as hell.
Gross as hell. Well, Nintendo is a gross as hell company, and they always have fucking been.
Well, okay.
There's no getting around it, but anyways, the point is, what I was saying before that, everyone would meet and agree to be in LA or releasing news at during this 3-day interval of E3 in the past. Like EA had their EA Play event or EA Live, whatever it was, would be next door to it. Microsoft bought the fucking Nokia Theater and held all their stuff off-site next door to it during the same 3 days. So everything was centralized. Now nothing's centralized, so we're kind of like spread around two weeks or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of led to this sort of like nothing's confirmed, nothing's for certain, and it's weird, and I don't know, like this raises a big question of like, will E3 swears it's coming back next year?
I bet.
I bet. And they're gonna have digital and in-person events, and there's, man, I sit here and I look at this and you wonder. I'm like, okay, and I was telling my stream this. I'm like, do you know how much it cost Sony 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, to build their booth? And I think I can say this. This is 10 years ago. Over 10 years ago, it cost Sony $5 million to build their booth. That doesn't account for travel of all the Sony employees. That doesn't account for lodging of all the Sony employees. It doesn't account for the food of all the Sony employees. That doesn't account for the ESA registration fees. That doesn't account for the amount of space they reserved in the convention center itself and paid to the ESA.
Yeah, I mean,
it costs these companies many millions of dollars to have these events, to be at E3, to have a booth and be at E3 and do all this shit was costing them probably in the tens of millions of dollars. And now, what did it cost Sony to do that state of play?
Well, it depends on the wage that the editor got for it, I suppose.
Yeah, like, relatively speaking, probably fucking nothing.
Well, the reason those events happen is because executives want to go party. That's the real reason that shit happens. Was E3 ever worth the juice? Or was it ever worth the squeeze, I guess? Like, whatever they got out of E3, was it ever actually worth it?
And for some companies, it really wasn't. It really wasn't for some companies. But some companies, it kind of was. And that's where I think the hierarchy all sort of came in with E3 and stuff.
The thing is, I can't see... Nintendo would have sold games had it not gone to E3. Sony would have sold plenty of games had they not gone to E3. Microsoft stopped going to E3 and still
was there and still announcing and
they
still
were
doing
there.
stuff.
That was the time of year and stuff.
Yeah, it was just, they were just across the street.
Yeah, the show was a lot of fun for everybody involved, and that's why it was happening. And I think also the face-to-face backroom deals that were happening.
Mm-hmm.
That was the draw. The
Yeah.
draw is that all the retailers that they were selling to would have a centralized location to go to.
And that's a really big part of the show and a really big change. Not to go off on another tangent, but I mean, you saw that probably in Nebraska that EB Games where the entire staff quit.
Yeah.
And left that note on the door like our district manager is a piece of shit. We're all quitting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, good for them.
Apparently, the GameStop CEO is now making all executives and managerial in corporate go work at a GameStop location for a week to see what it's like to work retail.
Oh, work for a month, weeks, pussy shit. Like,
well, I mean, I'm just saying that's still kind of an interesting. The CEO
I like
of
it.
GameStop.
No, I dig the idea, but like, make those fuckers work for a week in November.
Yeah.
Or make them work all of November. Make them work December.
The week leading up to Christmas.
Yeah, make them work 3 weeks leading up to. Yeah. That's what I want to see. I don't want to hear week in the middle of summer when no one's there.
Well, I mean, these people deserve a raise, and then they get back and they're all like, "We deserve a raise."
They got like a $2 raise for working as a man. Oh my god, like the stories that were coming out of that. But yes, retail's kind of gone. Like digital downloads account for more than half. It was I wouldn't even call it a slow creep. I would call it a fast creep, and it got expedited by the pandemic, where I'm 100% guilty of it too, where it's just kind of like pandemic hits, you're playing games, you gonna go buy that game? Hell no, I'm not gonna go into a GameStop.
Yeah.
I mean, one of our listeners, he was working at a GameStop and the pandemic hit and he just quit. Just up and quit. And he's just like my manager got COVID. People were getting on like yeah, we have disinfectant spray, but it's like no one was treating it seriously. All the customers were not treating it seriously. The management was barely even treating it seriously. Like they were still coming in even when they knew they were sick and stuff. So he's like, I'm not dealing with this. I'm out.
Yeah, apparently that's what's happening right now, where they're expecting another big ass spike because like they loosened everything and everything opened back up, and now people just don't give a fuck.
I mean, it didn't go away magically, and it's like, who could have predicted that? Like, completely treating things like nothing had happened, that it would suddenly come back. Oh my god, who could have foreseen this?
I mean, on positive news, that we're gonna get probably more of this Sunday. Apparently, Halo Infinite co-op is still coming.
No, it is in August.
It will eventually be here. There's going to be a test of it in July.
Yeah, I was actually so excited for it too.
I was super excited. I don't know. I'm getting kind of burned out on waiting on that.
Yeah, it's true. But speaking of like crowds and all that shit, and that actually brought me to another thing. I just before the stream, I was looking up ComicCon, San Diego Comic-Con. They still don't have They don't have a schedule still for next month. I mean, it's still happening. Third weekend of July. And they're trying to have a big full show. But here's the thing: I haven't heard one movie studio talk about being there or having anything big to show there at all. And the other thing too is that like I was like, oh, can you buy them? Like, how does this work considering how weird everything's been? And they're like, oh no, like Comic-Con is sold out. It's been sold out since 2019 because they've just rolled over people's. They had a little one over Thanksgiving weekend last year, but like they've literally rolled over tickets people bought for 2020 to 2022.
Wow.
And they're like, and if anyone, cancels, we're going to put those tickets. And it's funny because like any canceled tickets are going to go up for auction to raise funds for our Comic-Con museum. So, and Comic-Con's an interesting one because it's definitely a little bit more in your neck of the woods, as far as like industries you've worked in and studied under. And I've said for a while that I think Hollywood's fell out of love with Comic-Con entirely. I think their love is gone for Comic-Con at this point, probably.
I mean, it's like executives want to go down there and drinking party and
And
stuff.
they do. I've been to the industry
hard.
parties there. I've been to those industry parties. They industry party hard.
Most of the talent that I've ever heard of find Comic-Con exhausting. The directors and the stars like the meet and greets and stuff. They like doing the Q&As with fans stuff, but everything else around Comic-Con is like a dog and pony show that's just exhausting.
Yeah, so it's great for the mega celeb who just gets driven down for a couple hours on one day. He gets to go and party and meet some adoring fans and then leave. And then everyone else, their life is miserable for like 5 days.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is that Comic-Con, again, has also exploded in how much it costs to be there as a studio and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and also, this is an odd complaint because, I've never heard any like quantifiable evidence about this. It's always just like whenever you go to like the Los Angeles film market or something like that, where like distributors are actually buying films. The number one thing that you'll hear like complaint wise is that Comic-Con, it's almost entirely dominated by cosplayers just coming to cosplay in different sections of Comic-Con. Like they're not actually even going to various
Okay, that's true, but that number is way smaller than you think it is.
Well, I mean, there's no quantifiable evidence. I'm not saying this is just like an odd complaint that I've heard is that like it's become so dominated by that where like there'll be crowds there just going to see their favorite cosplayer that's a big name cosplayer who isn't even in the event. And so you'll have this big crowd that you have to wade through just to get to Comic-Con because whoever is
Oh no, that's a thing cuz like
it's weird as hell.
As someone who was there on the ground level with this and witnessed this firsthand, here's how Comic-Con cosplaying works, is that there's very little intermediate cosplayers at Comic-Con. There's first-timers, very casual, and then there's the people who could work in costuming in a real film. Like the people who spend thousands of dollars and thousands of hours making their costume. Like the pro level, and then there's like complete newbies, right? And a lot of those people, especially the pro level people, they don't have badges. They go there, they hang around the marina around Comic-Con, and yes, they draw big crowds, bunch of photographers. They set it up ahead of time. They plan it out, like they get in contact with photographers to come out.
Yeah.
They plan it like a fucking wedding. And yeah, they get they get a bunch of big name photographers, big name cosplayers, and then there's a big crowd also taking people's running in there to snap photos with their phone, right? So that is 100% true. But the thing is like if you went to say like an anime expo, the animes or whatever, or like any of the other like bigger, I don't even know if whatever, everything's different now. But like the big anime conventions, where like it'll be like at least half the fucking people there are in costume.
Oh yeah.
Right, like Comic-Con is like it's probably like 10% or 10% at best, honestly.
Yeah. So anyway, no business is happening there anymore, and so it's becoming harder and harder to justify going.
Yeah, and I think they got burned on Cowboys and Aliens and some other things, which are like, well, we have this big Comic-Con presence, and people seem to love it when we gave them a free showing there. I'm like, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun movie too, but
their response at Comic-Con is a terrible way to gauge general interest, public interest in a film.
Yeah,
just is.
One, because you have an audience that is just enthusiastic to be there, but two, it's really only the really committed people who are going to buy those badges and go there.
Mm-hmm. And it became a Scalpers Paradise.
Yeah, that's another problem. That's a common complaint from like directors and producers, I guess, that go there. Like a lot of talent goes there and just to buy memorabilia. Like when talent get down there, part of their deal will be, apparently a rider to their deal will be that they get certain merch from Comic-Con. But anyway, yeah, the secondhand stuff where people sign things and then it turns around and gets like sold for shitloads of money and blah blah blah. Various directors and stars, I guess, they sort of hate that economy that's sprouted up around it. So like nothing.
Yeah, and it sucks because most of those people, almost all the people buying this stuff, they're not buying it for their own private collection. Oh no.
Yeah.
those people are scalpers. They're there to sell it for 3 times the money on eBay.
I don't remember which director this is. I want to say it's James Gunn that said this, but I don't know this for sure. I can't remember exactly, but like someone was basically like they stopped signing things at Comic-Con purely because they weren't interacting with any fans at Comic-Con. They were only interacting with people trying to sell the shit that they were going to sign. And everything became this weird business transaction where, like, you know, this person would run up to them and ask them to sign something, but wouldn't know anything about the character they're having them sign. Like, they just know that they're the director. And so I guess it became just very jaded.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say it was James Gunn. I can't remember exactly who that was, though.
It definitely would be someone like that if it wasn't him, but someone of a similar thing. Yeah.
Sort of thrives off of that interaction. And
yeah, Miyazaki was there in 2009. I got his autograph, and I wasn't even going to do it except for all the other journalists doing it. And apparently, though, he will not do, like, he didn't have a public signing. He won't do public signings apparently because he found out people were selling it. And I'm like, oh, mine's in a fucking vault.
Yeah,
it's not going anywhere. It exists for me to like Google like every few years.
I think an odd thing with the internet and with social media, like a side effect, is the commoditization of experiences like that.
Yeah, that is a very good way to put it, and it feels dirty just hearing you say it.
Yeah, it does. It is sort of dirty. You know, it's kind of that debate about like E3 being open to the public or not, right? I've met several people, you know, really good dudes who bought their passes to E3 and loved their experience. But then I also know that a lot of us that have gotten media badges and have gotten industry badges who have been going for 10 years saw how E3 changed in order to take advantage of the people who wanted to buy in, right?
Yeah, and even Keeley was disgusted by it. Like he never said specifically what it was about the ESA's future plans for E3, but everyone knows it's from that fucking leaked document.
Yeah.
Like he never said it was, but like let's be real, he saw it and even he was like, this is disgusting. I want nothing to do with this.
And granted, for customers who are buying in to go do this experience, and like I am literally overjoyed that they had a great time and found it worth it, because E3's been going downhill for years. You know, a lot of the swag and a lot of the shows that happened at E3, like those have been diminishing, right? Everybody knows it.
Well, it's kind of like. I won't use. I was going to use an example, but it's like, when E3 in the past, or shows in the past, E3 didn't used to be public, but like say a ComicCon in the past, they would give out swag as basically bribery to be there. Like it used to be used as like we want people to show up.
Yeah.
We're gonna have cool stuff. Like please show up. We have fun stuff to give you. And now it's like that. Like people are going there specifically to resell that stuff.
Yeah,
it's not used as like it's no longer like a bribe to get in. It is now it's like, you know, I'm giving it's like it's this weird, you know, I don't want to say like not bribery thing, but it's like this weird thing where now
it becomes
now
an
it's
economy.
Like, it's now this weird economy of like I need to take your giveaway so that I can sell it and make money myself. It's like,
which, you know, hey, I'm not going to hate the hustler, I guess. You know, get after it.
Well, I don't hate sure, people got to make money somehow, but like that, I just hate the fact that it's like we're gonna have this really cool giveaway. We're gonna have this really like Nick would be like, we're gonna give away this really cool Avatar poster.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to have that poster. I'd hang it up in my room. You know, you can't see it because it's behind the camera, but it's like I have a season 1 of Avatar poster that I would take year after year to Comic-Con as different actors from the show would show up, and I'm only missing like 2. One I actually like sacrificed, or I could have gotten Katara's voice, but I gave it up because my other friend really wanted it, and I was like, you know what? I was able to get her to sign one thing, and I'm like, I'm gonna give it to this friend because they really wanted it, and I'm fine having like everyone else up there, right? So like that's one thing, but it's like that poster now is not going to go into the hands of someone like me who hangs it up in his room.
Yeah, it'll be somebody who has been there, camped out, and is going to resell it for.
And is going to resell it immediately. Yeah. And next to that, I have, it wasn't at a ComicCon, but it was at an art gallery, which has the creators and Korra's voice actor on it. And it was a print they made 100 of, and you know, it's like this. That one's kind of more of a personal one because it's like this big reminder for me about, you know, like, this is getting a little personal, whatever.
Yeah, being like the only fan who liked that show.
No, it's actually because it's a date night with Korra and Asami, and it's to remind me that you were raised to think a certain way, but remember now I hang it proudly in my room. It's June. People, give me this one. But yeah, it's a common reminder to remember that you were raised to think one thing, but you doesn't mean you had to believe that because of circumstance or whatever you're born into. You can change. You can, you can be a better person, kind of thing. So like that sits right above everything, just to constantly remind me of like where I was and where I'm at. Which I think is also an important thing. To always. Look, people are not going to be the same person their whole life. People, there can be good, like good can happen.
Yeah, and you could sell that very important part of your soul for a couple $100, dude. Just get out.
No, I could sell it for 1,000. I could sell it for 1,000 2 weeks after.
That's even better. The fuck are you doing?
Not degrading myself to that. So yeah, and then other stuff is just like, just artist alley stuff. People like freelance stuff that I just loved and bought, around. But it's like, yes, I could sell this thing for God knows how much.
Yeah, how much of an artist alley do you think is going to be at Comic-Con this year?
That's a good question. I don't even know where, because artist alley people are weird. They don't really have like a dedicated artist alley at San Diego Comic-Con. They're kind of like intermingled within the dealer's hall, if they can get in, if they can afford it, kind of thing. And I'm just wondering in general, because I'm like, I'm personally not going to any of these event stuff. And what I would probably love more than anything in the whole fucking world is to go back to Dragon Con, which was the greatest convention I've ever been to. But people are filthy, and they don't bathe, and they don't shower, and they don't sanitize, and I'm not going back into that hub of people in Georgia, until this thing is really truly past us, not pretend past
maybe
us.
Manscaped would give you a bunch of like samples.
Manscaped will keep me clean on the outside, but it's the inside I'm talking about.
We'll go together and we'll do a podcast from Dragon Con, and we'll give out crop mop samples.
They have a whole track of podcasters. They have this whole like section where it's just panels, and the panels are just podcasts done live with the audience. And I when we first started this, I remember thinking like, man, wouldn't it be great if we could do this one day? I would love to do this one day. This would be so cool,
Oh, we totally could. That's kind of the progression, is that people expect you to start doing tours for live shows and shit.
I would love to do that at Dragon Con. Not this year though, because we're only pretending that this shit's over. It's not really over. But I love that, and I don't know when it's going to come back. But here's the thing: like looking at there was a time in my life where I went to 12 conventions in 1 year. Part of me would actually absolutely love to still do that.
It's a lot of swamp ass to smell.
But well, and here's the other thing too, and I sit here and I think about like, do I want to go back to Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con? Personal, just for me, knowing the hustle and knowing how to manage the hustle of getting around, getting in there, getting around people, like, managing your time like 100% efficiently, yada yada. I don't miss that aspect of it, and I really don't miss the scalperness of the shitty scalperness. Like if it was Comic-Con 15 years ago, yes, but it's not that, right? Like, maybe if it comes back as that, and I'm very curious to where that's going to go, because how do you manage scalpers? Like, how do you have a PlayStation experience or an E3 now, and somehow find a way to make it? This is for fans, not for you fucking eBay hounds. And I don't And I totally get it. Like if I went to PlayStation, I still have a shit ton of stuff from PlayStation Experience. I think it's in my car.
Yeah, I just found the shirt from PlayStation Experience.
I
It says
have that
I
over
was
there.
there.
And part of me is like, okay, well maybe I don't really love this, and maybe I'll sell this one thing, but I really love this. Like, they gave me a cool water bottle or whatever, right? Cool like tanker.
Yeah.
I got like Zybernite gave me a much better one, but like yeah, like maybe I'll hang on to that. But like the shirt or maybe there was like a poster or something. It's like I don't really need this. Maybe I'll sell this. It's one thing to just sort of like sell it, maybe get a couple bucks for it, like you should, right? Rather than like, can I get $100 for this? How do you make that happen? And part of me wonders if maybe one way you do it is through subscription service. And what I mean is like, okay, say PlayStation Experience in particular, right? What if to buy a PlayStation Experience badge, you needed to have a Sony PSN account?
But then scalpers would just get that.
They'll just get accounts, but here's the other thing. What if the giveaway stuff is registered to your account? Like digitally.
Oh, I don't know. Would that stop a scalper? Would that stop someone who wasn't
I don't
able
know
to
if it would
go?
stop a scalper because I don't know what's still what's to stop them from doing it or whatever.
Well,
You
the
know,
thing about it is I think
maybe
the
you just don't give stuff away or something or whatever. Like I feel like there needs to be a more grassroots effort from people like to be like stop scalping. Like there was that guy. To more relevance. Did you hear about the guy who lost $23,000 on the GPUs coming down back to stock prices?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I did hear
Like he
about
had that
that.
wall of GPUs. He's like, I've lost like tens of thousands of dollars now because of this. I'm like, oh, boo fucking who?
Yeah, nobody feels bad for scalpers. I think the Pandora's box is open on that. I think there's never going to be a new product that has any kind of scarcity that scalping won't be huge on. I think you're going to see scalping for every generation of console that comes out after this, every GPU that comes out after this. You're going to see scalping for every major event that have. I think that's just it's open now. One, digital marketplaces have made it too easy to resell. And I say that like it's a negative here, but there's so many benefits that come from digital marketplaces. I'm not trying to.
Part of me wonders if like, what do you do instead? Maybe something you do is for Nintendo won't really work for Sony or Microsoft. I mean, if you had an app, you go there with your Switch, and you literally go into an area, like a redemption area, right? And what they do is they take your Switch, an employee takes your Switch,
And you get a
connect,
Mew.
connects to their Wi-Fi that only the employee knows, downloads an exclusive demo or game into your system wholesale, right? And then deletes that internet connection, hands it back to you, and says you now have a demo for X amount of Nintendo games. And if you want to resell that, you got to resell your system,
Which I don't.
like Animal Crossing Islands.
What you really do is you do something like they did at E3 the last year that we went, where they give away those special pins, those like collector's pins, and you only get one for every booth you go to, so you can't just accumulate dozens of them to resell. And then that way, the people who want to collect those because they were there get to collect a collector's item, but you don't get like a ton of swag that you can walk around with dozens of copies of. And then the people who want to resell it, they've got one to resell, and they can, do that if they want to for a collector. A collector who wants to buy that because they couldn't go or wants to buy a second to save or whatever, sure, totally fine. I think the problem comes in when, you have something that you can get multiple copies of, because they'll go and they'll buy all of the special, whatever Comic-Con product so that they have a trunk full of them, and then they'll spend the rest of the days trying to.
And again, I think the big solution for E3, because let's bring it back to gaming and focus, because I think the experience should be why you go, not a handout.
Oh, sure, yeah, but that's
and I think to add to that, why you're there, what you're doing there should be playing games. In other words, I'm going back to my old rant here. I'm like,
Demos.
Demos. If E3 is going to come back, if you're going to try to bring this shit back, assuming it's actually safe, like actually safe, um, bring fucking demos.
Yeah.
Lots and lots and lots of demos. Especially if your system's not a PS5, where it's like there's hundreds of millions of Switches out there. You can't sit there and tell me, oh, we don't have enough to we don't have enough units to use. Fuck off. Like you should have hundreds of thousands of Switches to just lock into place on the show floor and have people play, goddamn ridiculous. But
Gearbox did it great. Or
yes,
I guess it was Take-Two.
It was 2K, yeah.
Or 2K,
Take-Two, all the same thing. Because they usually don't have anything to show or to play. It's just like a closed off little
demo
box.
Units.
And they show up with Borderlands 3. We're gonna have 100 fucking demo units. They did it right. They
did, yeah.
I will stand that. They did that. They did that right. But is that enough? That's the real question here at the heart of all of this thing. Is it enough nowadays to have an event that you're going there to play demos of upcoming games? Is it enough anymore?
If you're getting to see those, big drops in a crowd where you're watching these reveals and stuff like that, I think that is exciting. I think as gaming enthusiasts, we're going to be jazzed for that shit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I do, so long as it's not going to be $500 for a ticket.
Correct. Yeah. I think what I'm asking here is is the trailers, is the state of plays, is, just these little digital stream events, is this enough now? Or is there still a room for an E3 style event? Is there still do people want to actually go get a hotel, reserve stuff, travel, and then go to this show floor and play games, demos of games all day long?
Oh, see, I think yes.
Yeah, and I argue yes too, because I think I'll let you go off, but I'm just saying I think the companies probably don't want to, but
well, actually, I think the companies, especially mid-level executives, definitely want to. I think that a lot of this time, that event, for better or worse, is also where all those executives network with each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's where scalping, other talent comes from. That's where you bump shoulders with your competitors, but also your peers and stuff. I think management, executives and stuff like that, they want this. But also I think there's a lot of desire for, again, experience and event. Centralized events, the big benefit to centralized events is it's easy to focus marketing around it. It's easy to get all eyes on this thing, and event snowballs into its own sort of push, basically.
And I think going on 3 years, 3 years going on without having a truly purely centralized event. They were really scattershot in 2020, and they got better about it last year. And then this year, I think they're even more closer together, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's still June 2nd through, and I saw this was leaking as we were out here. Nintendo Direct on Wednesday, June 15th, leaked via an email sent without an NDA. So, okay, so here's the email. Hello, I received an email from a developer recently. I am a content creator asking me if I was interested in a code for a game that launches next week on Switch, which I personally wasn't, but the game will be exciting for some action fans. Usually when this happens, the publisher will ask me to sign an NDA before sharing any info at all, including what the game is. Oddly enough, they did not do this time or ask me not to share this information at all, so fair game. This guy's ruining his fucking career here. That said, out of respect for their surprise, I will not say what the game or developer it is. With that out of the way, the game is scheduled to drop on the Switch next Wednesday, with the embargo for coverage also being on Wednesday, June 15th. It is going to be one of the shadow drops during the Nintendo Direct. since the embargo is set for specifically 9 a.m. Pacific time. I presume that the Nintendo Direct will happen at 9 a.m., which they usually do, on Wednesday, June 15th. As a side note, this lines up with some other developers that I did sign NDAs for it sent me. Hyped to watch this with you guys next week. Screw it, I'm bored. Here's an edited screenshot. Sorry, only blah, blah, blah.
Live during the recording, you see news confirming their direct. That's hilarious. But also, if he just said that there's an embargo on it, then he just broke the embargo to talk about it.
Well, because there was no NDA on it, so it's just like, hey.
But obviously there was a fucking embargo on it.
I mean, he thinks it's being noble by saying, like, I'm not going to say what the game is or who the publisher is, but it's like,
they're never going to send you anything anymore.
They're definitely never going to send you anything anymore.
Especially if his name is on it.
Well, kiss that fucking.
They're so greedy with their attention and like who they give access to. Like if you criticize them even mildly, they'll never give you. That sucks.
Kiss that connection goodbye, buddy. Okay, it's probably
it's
probably a smaller indie thing if it's a shadow drop. They don't shadow drop big games. People are going like, "Yeah, give us that big bit." No, it doesn't mean Bayonetta 3. Shut up.
It's always Bayonetta 3. It's always Bayo.
But
it's a new Devil May Cry that's Switch only.
Hey, whatever. More Devil May Cry. Take it.
You'll just take it even though it's Switch only?
Yeah. Bayonetta's Switch only. I'm not complaining.
It runs at 25 frames a second.
No, it'll run at 40 to 60 like all good Switch Platinum games. An inconsistent 40 to 60.
A highly inconsistent 20 to 60.
No, that's other games.
Yeah, you're right. It's 15 to 40.
Well, for some games, not Platinum.
A lot of games, yeah.
Isn't
that what Resident Evil 5 ran at on the Switch? It was like 15 to 30 or 15 to 40.
I don't know if it went down to 15, but it definitely was all over the place.
It had a hard time during that village sequence.
When we were playing it at E3, it was hyper unoptimized.
Wait, didn't you go into that area where you're fighting? It's the first horde area.
Yeah. We were playing it because that was the last E3 so far. We were there, and I think I remember talking to someone from Capcom, and they're like, zero optimization has been done on this build of the game. Like they literally just like straight hit a button to transfer like. This is what it looks like. He's like, yeah, this is what a port of a game looks like when you do absolutely no optimization. You just transfer the data over. And I was like, oh.
I mean, considering that, it wasn't that bad, actually, then. It was actually kind of impressive.
I don't know what the final looks like. I don't know how much time or effort they put into the final release of the game, but...
None.
Probably not.
No. I do think that if they do an event... again, especially if there's like a Nintendo area to the event, I think the one idea that you touched on, by the way, that I think is just a great idea, and I know I've said it on the podcast before, but like you should be able to just connect to a Wi-Fi at the event on your Switch and get demos rather than waiting in line. Like if you're in the Nintendo area and you can connect to the Nintendo Wi-Fi, you can download the demo onto your Switch, and it's timed demo so that by the end of the day, it's gone.
And then what do you do for Sony and Microsoft? Well, just show up and have 30,000 demo units and just have all the demos on the system downloaded, and people can just go in and pick what they want. Yeah. I don't know if that would actually be faster or not.
Well, no, that probably wouldn't be faster. And
I mean, it would probably be dependent on how many demos are there and what demos it is and how many, and of course how many demo units you bring, but. I don't know.
Or have like a demo arcade area.
You know what they could do? It'd be funky, but they could do it. Because both Sony and Microsoft have tech for this. They could literally have you connect to your phone, and either using your phone or a controller connected to your phone, you could stream.
Oh, fuck you! I would hate that.
Stream the demo.
That would be so bad.
Yeah.
It would be terrible.
It would be terrible. Because at least with the Nintendo's thing is like you're going to download the full thing right into your Switch, like download the demo wholesale, so you're not streaming it.
Yeah, no, I mean, God, can you imagine how slow the download speed would be for that?
Plus, Nintendo could even do a thing where it's like, "Yo, come over here, yo," because they have the new docks. I have it too. It's fucking amazing. Where the new toasters have an Ethernet port, and they literally could just like put your Switch in there and just be like, "We're gonna download the demos. We're just stick it in hardwire, get it real fast, and once it's done, pop it out, give it to you." Like,
Yeah,
you know,
that'd be cool.
have a little trade-in station where they just put it in a dock with an Ethernet cord and just
And
hard
instead of
download.
having a huge open empty space like they've had the last 3 E3s, just have a ton of demo units over there. Have your
Yeah,
demo units in the booths, but then
yeah,
have just like a
or
giant demo arcade
because I think
off
like
in the middle of fucking.
and I think the fear comes in a lot where like okay, well the problem is you're going to have congestion and crowding, and that's always been a thing at E3. And it's like, yeah, but look at how, like you were just saying, how much of E3 is like dead space. Like they should space out. Like say you have a popular demo, like let's say it was God of War Ragnarok this year, right? There should be multiple smaller Sony booths in every side of E3 that have demos for it just
Yeah,
set up.
just demos, no
So
presentation.
just people just you can go to all these different areas of E3 and just I can play the same demo here, or here.
Well,
We
E3
spread
would
it
have to
out.
be, it would have to be structured to not milk every fucking dollar out of the exhibitors as possible. It would have to be structured for putting on a good event. That's something that I had a hard time explaining to someone the last time we were there in person. Is I was like, E3 isn't built to be a good experience. It is built to siphon as much money out of the exhibitors as possible. You
Yeah,
wouldn't
it's
have big empty spaces like that if they wanted to make it as good of an experience as
it's a
possible.
really good point. It's a really good point because I'm like, why do you think Sony left? Why did Microsoft leave?
Because they don't care about the attendees. Like that's it. Like I know it's kind of shitty to say, but like it's ESA deserved every bad turn that came their way because they did nothing
Yeah,
to prepare or improve at all. Or at least if they did, it happened so behind closed doors and so incrementally that no one had any evidence of it. Um, you know, do I think that you can get all the same information? Do I think companies will go back to an E3 purely for the marketing aspect? No. For the event aspect, I think it's still possible. Especially
possible.
Microsoft,
Well,
who owns that theater for no reason
yeah,
right now.
Microsoft I can see doing that, but how as the ESA because Sony bailed for the last two, really three, so that means it's been like it'll have been fucking like 6 years, right? It's like Sony wasn't there in 2019. And I think 2018 they were famously not there either, right?
Right.
So it'll be from 2017 and here comes 2023, right? Uh as the ESA, how do you convince people to come back? Considering as I went down how much it costs just to have a booth there. Like how do you talk people into that?
I think you make it a lot cheaper to have a booth there, for one. And for two, I think you reframe it as E3 is no longer purely a marketing push. It is an event. I mean, it is a marketing push, but it is no longer an industry only event. It is now restructured as an event for the public to come see it. And so, yeah, they still have media. They still have, buyers for retailers and stuff like that. And that's all still happening up in the upstairs offices and stuff. But like being upfront that this is going to be a big event, a sort of centralized marketing event that the public will be able to attend. Yeah, because that's also E3 just wasn't built like that, even though they tried to do that.
I also think they maybe want to think about going to a different
industry
venue.
only. Well,
We're just going to a different
hate,
venue that
you
can
hate
that
downtown
can
LA.
I do hate it down, but like the E3, the Los Angeles Convention Center is built to be a trade show, right? It's built to be a trade show style convention center. It's not good for public. It's not good for public display stuff.
Now that Hope Street is done and other downtown elements down there, it's a lot different than when we saw.
Well, yeah, that's surrounding stuff. But I mean, just sort of like the way the convention center itself is sort of built and structured isn't great for public. It's great for trade. I mean, it is good in a public sense, but it's really meant for a trade show, which is why you have the boat show there. That's really big, and why you have like a big ass porn convention there. Like twice. Well, they used to twice a year.
I thought that was in Vegas.
No, well, there is one. There is one in Vegas, but they would have a because I would be driving through, L.A. and I remember seasonally every year you say like Adult Con, this December, or there was like a December showing in like a summer showing.
Celebrate Christmas with titties. Which, I mean, all right. Thank God for that.
LA Convention Center for 3 days or 2 days or whatever it was, and it was always kind of like Adult Con. So I mean, but like and the only reason I know more about it is because there was if you remember Penn and Teller's bullshit. Yeah. Like there was an episode they went to one of the things, and it's great as a trade show style venue. And I'm like, hey, look at this kitty hole. But yeah, so it's the way it's structured and built is not necessarily great for anything beyond a big trade show style event. Meaning that like it's not great for panels. It's not great for like more one-on-one stuff. It's not really not great for like say like signings or things like that, unless you just carve out a space of that one of their giant enormous halls into that. Like it's a very weird. It's just old, fucking old school, old world design, and it's not great. Just not great. I mean,
it's not multiple halls, right? It's 2 big ass halls.
Yeah, it's 2 big ass halls and like a connection hallway in between. And I'm like. Personally, I'm almost like Vegas seems to me like the smart thing because, I was telling people this. I'm like, Vegas shows somehow like people are like, well, why does Vegas get things like this? I'm like, how did so and so such a small thing ever get a person to come out to Vegas? I'm like, because think about it. If you're a celebrity or you're a game or big publisher or whatever, and someone's like, we want you to come show off your wares, or we want you to come visit and do signings at our convention, and you get a free Vegas trip out of it.
Oh, I mean, Vegas is actually it's purpose built for that kind of thing. It has one of the best, busiest airports. You get off the plane and go right to your hotel. If they did it like at the Venetian, which has the Venetian's the nicest fucking hotel in Vegas, but also
Venetian
it's convention
is
center.
Like, it's funny how you don't hear about that as much, but seriously, the Venetian is like the best hotel.
It is the best hotel, and its convention center, while isn't necessarily the prettiest of all of them, like Mandalay Bay has a pretty convention center, and Venetian isn't an ugly convention center, but it is actually like the best laid out. There's several floors. It's sort of centrally located. Like you go past a bunch of restaurants, like you go deep into the Venetian to get to the convention center.
You're not leaving the Venetian.
Oh yeah, but why would you?
If you've been to the Venetian, you know that it is a city unto itself.
It is, yeah. It's just this massive city, and like you can go out into the mall and the casino, and you literally never have to leave the Venetian. I won't shut up about this. Venetian, granted, the Venetian's expensive though, so which executives would love. All their rooms kick ass. Not one shitty room.
I would actually love it too. Like Venetian's fantastic. It's actually one of the prettiest places to go.
It has amazing food.
It's basically like Bellagio but bigger. One way I could kind of put it. I'm like, it's because it's fancy and upscale and nice, but it's got way more restaurants, more shopping, more everything than the Bellagio. But it's kind of like that in a sense because they're both like Italian, but whatever.
Because they're both Italian.
Well, they are, right? Bellagio's Italian themed, and so is Venetian. So, they had the canal boats of Venetian, I think, too.
Yeah,
right?
they do. Yeah, and then the canal driver, they sing and shit.
Yep. It's to me, I'm like, yeah, like maybe E3 needs to just maybe do something like that because I think really at the end of the day, it's like. You've got a lot of convincing to do. You got to convince the publishers it's worth the money to go back there and have an event, right? And announce stuff at an event and have a hands-on event. So you need something that's going to accommodate a lot of public. You need something that, and frankly, for the media and now what you would call the content creators is where we'd fall under. You need something basically either a day for us or like better, have a media exclusive hallway. It's like no frills. It's maybe not, doesn't have like crazy theming or whatever.
It just has demos and people to answer questions. Yeah.
Demos and people to talk to, right? And that's what they really need is they need something for that, and they need something that's going to accommodate a lot of meeting rooms. Because here's the thing, like Nintendo goes and they build a whole fucking like mansion, a fortress, if you will, and they build their own meeting rooms. They're all like, prop up, style.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, I think that's what you need is you need somewhere. Imagine if you had a venue that had plenty of meeting rooms and spaces and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, I could see it happening, but you're going to need someone with, I guess, public trust or some industry trust more so. And oddly enough, I think Keeley is the guy to do it. He has events that don't suck dick.
It is weird, but it's like he's not committing to having an event space. Like we know about that he's going to have a very tiny exclusive invite only media hands-on event
Mm-hmm.
that he's doing after his show. Somewhere very small, right? Very small amount of people. It's being very tightly regulated. A lot of that actually for safety reasons. Good on him there too. So it's weird that E3's like it didn't even happen this year. It was like it's kind of dead period. But he's not committed to having a in-person hands-on event.
No, and I sort of think E3's just dead, but I think that the people who, ran E3 that were like boots on the ground, who actually like knew the nuts and bolts of E3 and not the ESA executives who just counted the money. I think those people could be collected by someone like Keeley who has industry connections, and he could make an E3 replacement. He could do it. I don't know if he wants the ulcers that would come with it and, the annoyance, but he'd probably love the fucking diamonds he'd get for it. He would love counting them bucks. Because even if he does it equitably and doesn't try to hold them over a barrel like ESA did, he would still make millions.
Yeah.
Just by nature of how big it would be.
And the reality is that like for most of E3's existence, when they were spending tens of millions of dollars, it was no one paid to go to E3. It was all invite or press, right? So no one was paying for badges. Like it used to be that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So paying public is actually kind of like just a bonus. And the thing is, you really don't need to charge people that much to go. Like you really don't. Like I feel like if Keeley was smart, or if anyone for that matter was smart, and you want to have a big public like preview event, I guess that's the best way to call it, a preview event. The best thing you could do is not charge those publishers that like who want to go. Like, oh, Nintendo wants to show up. Cool. How much are we gonna charge Nintendo just to be there? Not a lot, because again, it's advertising. Like, you make your money elsewhere.
Where the shit comes in, and probably what publishers and other companies were the most pissed about, is that they weren't getting a slice of the money, even though they were the big draw.
Well, it's like they're paying to be there, and that's paying for advertisement, sure. But it's like then they open it up to public, and it's like they're probably not getting kickback on the public, ticket sales.
No, it would make no sense. Why are we paying?
So it's like they're paying to be there. They're paying for the space, per foot. They're paying to build it. They're paying to bring people out there. They have to pay their developers to make demos. Like,
it's all one big mess.
It eventually becomes a thing where it's just kind of like, yeah.
The more rabbit hole you get into how messed up E3 was in the end, I mean, it just becomes more and more of a headache to explain, because you could take just one particular aspect and dive into how mismanaged it was, and you could spend an entire episode just talking about that. You don't even have to get into, the mismanagement of the public aspect of, how shitty that ticket was and how bad it was for exhibitors to deal with that.
And I
Yeah.
think that definitely something you really got to do is that like when you're on the trade, like you're on your show floor, you really got to get rid of that obvious sort of hierarchy where it's like, oh, this guy paid to get in, fuck him. Like
Yeah.
he's not getting special treatment. He's not getting, he's not going to come to the special area and play games without waiting or anything. He paid, fuck him. Like
Yeah, there's always been a little bit of a weird hierarchy that was there at E3, but it was definitely more obvious with the paying public involved,
mhm.
which, was gross as hell. But any last thought? We're right over an hour
Well,
in.
going into Summer Games Fest is coming up. We're obviously recording beforehand. I think we're gonna see like Silk Song there. I think we might hear
Oh.
the announcement of Elden Ring DLC there. Um, we might get some other updates. I'm trying to think of maybe some updates on those Star Wars games. Maybe I don't know. It's hard.
We're
It's
finally
hard
going
for
to see
me.
Wild again.
Oh, that's gone. Um,
What do you mean?
but like, yeah, it's like I expect there to be a bunch of like indie or small publisher stuff or startup. Like there was that one company that Keeley had at the Game Awards that was like it was a splinter off of a bunch of I want to say ex EA people or ex Activision people, and they were going to build up like their own version of a BR or a Destiny style game. I forget what it's called. All that
That'd be
shit just
cool.
kind of.
I'm open
But
to a
like
new BR.
point is, it was like here's a new upstart studio. They announced that a bunch of people have left Activision or EA and they're going to start their own studio and they're going to whatever, right? So I think it's gonna be stuff like that. Upstart's brand new studio stuff, indie dev stuff like Silk Song, stuff like Elden Ring DLC. You're not gonna get. It's not gonna be like here's all these beloved big name PlayStation 1 era franchises. They're all coming back. You're not gonna get a Silent Hill, resurgence there
Ape
or
Escape
something like that.
Remake Horror
Yeah,
Edition.
horror edition. And I think it's fair for him to do that and to say like, "Hey guys, just letting you know, like this is not
Manage your
this is not that
expectations.
manage your expectations, is not that event." And it's fair for them to do that. To me right now, I think all my biggest my biggest interest is on Microsoft.
Yeah, they have to do a pretty serious rebuttal.
They do because they came out and said we're not going to have a game. We have no games come out this year, and Halo Infinite's not in a great state.
They're going to show
So
Star Ocean and Elder Scrolls.
as
and
much as it feels shitty to be
a
like,
new
well,
Dishonored.
what, like, oh, don't like, how come, what, like, as much as people like they don't have any games, like, what, because everyone hates the fact of like, hey, we're showing a game that's years away, right? People hate that, but I'm like, well, you already set the example. It's like we don't have a game this year, so everything we show will be far away. So I think Microsoft probably just needs to come out and just okay, fuck it. It's far away. It's all far away. Fuck it. Here's Fable. Here's Perfect Dark. Here's obviously Starfield and Redfall. Here's other stuff we announced. Like just fucking like here's Hellblade 2, whatever. Like show the stuff. Just show it. Show something. Because kind of sucks, knowing that like they have all these studios.
I mean, just imagine if they announce another acquisition that day.
Yeah, I mean, I almost feel like unless that acquisition is something again on the caliber of Activision, I feel Microsoft needs to just be like, what are you showing now?
We bought
Because
Konami's IP.
yeah, you bought Konami's IP because announcing an acquisition now doesn't mean anything anymore because it is taking fucking forever for anything to show on these games. And I know things take time, but God, it's not looking good.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting Sunday. I think next week's episode is when we're going to talk about how either absolutely jazzed we are or let down.
Yeah, and we are jazzed. I am jazzed about a new Fable and a new Perfect Dark. And,
I'm jazzed about those things, but I wonder if
know,
they're going to show them. I don't know.
and I don't know if they will, but I think they should because, like, yes, everything's far away now, but fuck, you need to remind people why you have a Game Pass subscription, why you're going to keep that Game Pass subscription. And but yeah, also next episode will be right after Capcom's follow-up event that they're doing Monday. So we'll see more footage on Street Fighter 6, maybe Street Fighter 4.
Maybe
I'm sorry,
Rear?
Street Fighter 4. I mean, RE4. I totally said Street Fighter twice.
Maybe some Rear? Reefer?
Yeah, maybe some Rear. So maybe hopefully we'll have more to talk about there. If sounds like Nintendo's on Wednesday. I think it could still be Tuesday, and it's just that. But whatever. But yeah, either Tuesday or Wednesday next week is going to be Nintendo. From the look of things, I guess. So.
Well,
yeah, maybe we'll see. Well, I guess we'll see what Nintendo does if we do like a follow-up or whatever.
Find out.
Because I feel like we're gonna have plenty to talk about with Keighley, Microsoft, and Capcom. I think we'll have plenty to talk about next week. And then I'll say this: if we feel the need to do a double and follow up on Nintendo's, we'll talk about that after. Like assuming Nintendo's is Wednesday morning, which is after we record normally.
We're gonna have a real exciting, totally not E3 week.
But if Nintendo is Tuesday morning, we may have to go for a long episode next week. We just have to go for a long one.
Oh, I guess we'll just suffer through that.
Well, I won't. You will. I won't.
All right.
You will.
As always, we got some patrons to thank. If you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogamespodcast. And our producers for this episode are The Arnett, Scrunami, Kuroi35. I probably said that wrong. I'm sorry. HyperViper89, Ziggy Z, and Online Persona. Thank you, dudes, and we will catch you next time.
Later, dudes.